This is a series of 100 films about Japanese places I've been, and this is a film about a place that most foreigners can't pronounce. Takodanobaba is a neighborhood in Shinjuku Ward, Tokyo Prefecture, in the Kanto region, the area around Tokyo, on the island of Honshu in eastern Japan. It's serviced by the Yamanote Line, the Seibu Shinjuku Line, and the Tozai subway line. The first time I went here was my first year in Tokyo. There's two major private universities nearby, one of which is where the Japanese royal family goes to school. Both are a bit far from Takadanobaba Station, normal in Tokyo as they need space for their campuses, and land near major train stations is expensive. In Japan, the university system is divided between public and private. There's over 700 of them. The top schools are public universities, meaning they have lower tuition and are harder to get into. Outside of Tokyo, there is usually only one per prefecture. For example, Tokyo University is considered the best university in the country. Kyoto University is considered number 2, Hokkaido number 3, etc., 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 along with other institutions like Tohoku, Kyushu, Chiba, and so on. And from there, you'll have national universities that specialize in certain things like engineering or education, and these are the top 80 or so universities. After that, you'll have private universities, and many of those in Tokyo are also highly regarded, and they all require students to pass a rigorous entrance exam to be offered admittance. Otearai. However, their tuition is expensive. The most famous ones are Sophia, Gakuin, Waseda, and Keio, and they are easier to get into, especially if you're rich. Why? Because these universities, unlike the major public ones, run their own private institution for high school, junior high, and elementary school. Now, while they accept students from the public education system, these students will have to pass a difficult entrance exam. But in addition, they'll have spaces in each new year reserved for students who paid for the private education at their own on-campus high schools. And these students get in by writing an essay and getting a letter of recommendation from one of their teachers. Why the difference? Well, the post-secondary system in Japan is designed to prevent class mobility. And not just in Japan. In most of Asia, each university demands you write their own entrance exam, and it's ridiculously hard. It's literally going to be the most difficult thing someone does in their life. Admissions officials will literally only look at your marks on their entrance exam for that particular university. This means there's a huge after-school infrastructure of private education to prepare students for these exams. They're called juku, or cram schools. Now, say you're rich enough to attend Keio University Private High School. You're more likely to get into Keio University than someone who just attended a cram school. And slots, it is rumored, are allocated by length of time spent at the university's private school. So if your parents were even richer and could pay the tuition for the Keio University Junior High School, or even more expensively, the elementary school, well, you're almost guaranteed a spot, no matter what your grades. And once you get into university in Japan, it's impossible to fail, unless you don't show up. I've been a university instructor, and I was not allowed to fail people if they showed up to class. So companies interviewing university students don't even look at your marks. They only care about extracurricular activities. Otearai. For example, did you play on the baseball team? Were you good at rugby or basketball or ping pong? What about running the Shonan Marathon for your school on New Year's Day? These are the things that count for employers, because they know a Japanese university education is a bit of a joke. I've met Japanese people who've attended university in America and Canada, and they're shocked by how hard they had to work to pass. And they're flabbergasted some students flunk out on a regular basis. So this is one reason I find Takodanobaba interesting. Also, I used to have a picture that was the background on my laptop screen. It was called Takodanobaba on Acid, by a pair of artists called Cozy Dan. They drew and colored a cartoon-like streetscape of Takodanobaba with multiple layers, creating a psychedelic world upon a Tokyo street corner. And the reality? Well, Takodanobaba is kind of overwhelming, densely filled with stores and restaurants. There's a lot of university students. Curiously enough, Takodanobaba is one of the few stations with its own theme song. On the JR lines, each station has a different theme song, And usually several stations will share the same theme music. All are in the 1980s MIDI synth style. The theme song is played out just before the train is about to close its doors, and Japan Railway initiated this because people would rush their trains back in the 80s. And Takodanobaba is one of the few stations that has its own individual theme song, not shared with any other station. And it's the Astro Boy theme, or Atom as it's known in Japan. And with that in mind, that is worth the trip to Takodanobaba. How do I get there? If you're new to Japan, you'll probably want to start in Tokyo from Shinjuku Station, since it's the busiest train station in the world. Take the Yamanote Line in the Ikebukuro direction from JR Shinjuku Station. And as always, remember that this information may be out of date by the time you're watching this. The word of the day. The word of the day is otearai. It means washroom or restroom in Japanese. It may be the most important Japanese word you ever learn. So if you want to remember this word, feel free to watch this video 10 more times and repeat along with me. Or at least that's what I do. Next time! So that's it until next time we visit a place that promises space travel and delivers a DeLorean. So until then, sayonara.